Okay, we will go ahead and start right at 5 o'clock. So I've already started recording, but as soon as it hits 5 is when I'll actually start the class. Thank you for those that arrive early. I appreciate it. And will you guys just let me know, do you guys see the link that I dropped in the chat box? You don't. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to add a link. It may have just only been available to those that I shared it with before you guys arrived. So I was hoping it would stay there. So I may have to send it a few times for those that come a little bit later. But I'll talk about that in a little bit. So the purpose of today's class is oftentimes as trainers, I feel like it's something that we talk about so much that sometimes we don't always remember the little tips and tricks that we have picked up, or even how our eating style may be a little bit different than others. So these are just going to be kind of covering some things that you may already know. Some of it may be new to you. You may discover a new product, or hopefully it'll just give you some new ideas too, because a big thing is sometimes I think we get kind of bored when a lot of times when we are trying to lose weight or a new diet or whatever it may be, we tend to kind of get into a rut of what we're eating because it fits, right? And eating should never be boring. So I do just kind of want to challenge you to kind of look at what others may have tried. So this is just going to be a few examples. What I did is I actually posted this for all of our wonderful Wrangler coaches, and I just took what they kind of replied back that they do. So this is what they kind of do to not only get in their protein, but also if they're just kind of having, if they want kind of a salty, crunchy snack, or if they are having like a sweet tooth, this is kind of what they choose to eat to make sure that they are staying on track. So the first thing I'm going to start with is cottage cheese. And I wanted to start here because I hate cottage cheese. I've always hated it, never really liked it. And I feel like every time someone's like, oh, you need to add protein to your diet, you should add cottage cheese. And I don't like the texture, not a huge fan of the flavor. So I was never, for me, I was like, I would never purchase cottage cheese to eat because that just doesn't sound appetizing to me whatsoever. However, I have learned that there are ways that I do enjoy it. So for me, what I do is whenever I buy a tub of cottage cheese, I immediately dump the whole thing in a blender and blend it because I don't like the texture of cottage cheese. If you like it, you can totally skip that step. If you are someone like me that don't love the texture of cottage cheese, try blending it. And like I said, I do it immediately as soon as I get home with it, because I know if it sits in the fridge and I don't blend it, then it's going to sit in the fridge and I'm never going to have the time when I'm making meals to kind of incorporate it so that I can get the benefits of the added protein that it offers. So some of our coaches love mixing in cottage cheese into their eggs to get that added protein boost. Others do it in their smoothies. It will kind of thicken up as you blend it. If you are going to use it in a smoothie as a thickener, that would be great. If you're using it for anything else, just be aware that it does thicken when you blend it. So if you do prefer like a thinner consistency, you can always add water or your favorite milk or milk alternative to it. But my favorite ways to utilize it is actually by making like a tzatziki sauce or a ranch sauce. And I use this in multiple ways. So I will mix it up and just use it as like a dip, as a veggie dip, or as a veggie spread. So if I'm making wraps and I'm going to put in some deli turkey or chicken or anything like that, that's going to be the spread. And the good thing is just one serving, which is like 2 tablespoons of it, has 7 grams of protein. So it's really just an awesome way to kind of boost your protein intake, even if you are going to be using it just as a spread or on a sandwich or using it as a dip. So that's one way to use it. Another way is because it is so full of flavor, you can actually use it to marinate chicken in. So I also will use the cottage cheese as a marinade. And again, if you want a little bit runnier, you can add that milk or milk alternative to it and just allow your chicken to kind of marinate overnight in it. And my favorite way is to grill it. And then you also kind of get this nice kind of protein boost, but it's something that has multiple uses in it for me. So that I know I'm going to use it because I can use it multiple ways. And then of course, if you're someone that likes the flavor of cottage cheese, you can always just pair it with your favorite fruit. And I am going to say this is I do have a recipe packet with some of the recipes that I'm going to be mentioning from this class. So afterwards, your wrangler or coach should be able to drop it to you in Everfit if you are interested in that. The next thing that we kind of was a common theme among the wranglers was they beef up their oatmeal. So oatmeal is great. It's a whole grain product. It's full of fiber and does have some protein in it as well. But what you are going to find is oftentimes it's not going to hit your protein needs just quite. So some ways that our coaches have found to kind of make it so it's offering up higher proteins is going to be actually cooking in an egg white with it. And that egg white will actually make it kind of a fluffier, creamier texture. Or of course, you probably have heard many people just add their protein straight to their oatmeal and mix it up. And it kind of does give it a thicker consistency as well. And whatever flavor protein powder you like, you're able to kind of get that mixed in and add it into it. So you can do it that way, or you can always beef up protein, of course, by adding in things like Greek yogurt, or even blending up tofu and putting in the tofu with a little bit of honey and vanilla is also going to be a great way to kind of get that added protein into it. So don't forget your toppings. I think this is the thing that's overlooked the most because it's something so small that you don't think it's going to make a big difference. But if you are eating a salad, eating oatmeal, enjoying a smoothies, or even simply having peanut butter on toast or avocado toast, whatever it may be, just by adding hemp hearts, chia seeds, nutritional yeast, or spirulina, you're going to be actually adding quite a bit of protein up, quite a bit of protein to those recipes. So the amounts that are listed, that is per tablespoon. And that's not very much. So if you have a tablespoon of hemp hearts, that's something that's really easy to add. Hemp hearts have kind of a nuttier flavor. It pairs really well just as in your salads. Oftentimes I like to mix it actually in the dressing itself because sometimes I feel like the hemp hearts kind of roll off the lettuce. So that's just my personal opinion, but it is something that can be really easily just kind of sprinkled on top of many different dishes. If you do have nutritional yeast, again, it almost has like a nutty cheese flavor to it. So if that's not something you've ever tried before, I would definitely recommend you just giving it a shot and trying some out. Like I said, even if you're sprinkling it on like an avocado toast or toast with eggs or your salad, it's going to kind of have that natural cheese flavor. And it's also something that a lot of people really enjoy pairing it with popcorn. So just kind of topping your popcorn with it, it kind of gives it that like cheesy, nutty flavor. Spirulina is also something that is often overlooked. It is a powder that you can actually add again to your smoothies. My favorite way to kind of add it in is actually again in my dressings. What I do is actually kind of make like a green goddess dressing and have the spirulina right in there. So even down to my dressing is going to be a little bit higher in protein than what other people may typically have. So another thing I wanted to kind of cover over tonight is unique ways to actually utilize some of your supplements. Oftentimes I think people, when they're like, oh, protein, yeah, I'm going to have a protein shake. What else can I do besides a protein shake? Oh, I'll have I'll make a smoothie with it. And after that, the ideas kind of tend to dwindle out. So some ways that I like to kind of utilize my protein powder in different ways is actually by kind of changing up the flavor a little bit and how I'm actually presented with it. So during the cooler months, some of my favorite ways is actually just making like a hot chocolate with the protein powder itself. You can even kind of give it a little more oomph by adding in any type of flavoring extract. So I like to do like an almond and a chocolate often. Another option is actually by making like a vanilla chai with it. So if you have chai tea bags, you can actually make your tea and mix it into a vanilla protein powder shake. And the reason, and of course, I know there's lots of flavors out there when it comes to protein powder. And I know you can get like a vanilla chai protein powder, and that's great. But I tend to go very basic with my flavorings when I am purchasing protein powder, because what I find is if I get the basic flavors, I can actually always add to it and make it so it's something a little bit more exciting, because I'm not going to buy another protein until I finish off my current protein. And that's just me personally. If you're someone that has a whole cupboard of different flavors that keep you interested, more power to you. I just tend to usually only have one or two. And typically I use those in all my baking and like I said, and drinks as well. So if I get the basic flavors, I'm able to just kind of add different seasonings, different spices to that. So don't ever be afraid to do that to yours. Another one that I didn't add is even like a horchata. So just adding like that cinnamon and a little bit of vanilla, a little extra vanilla flavoring to it will give you that nice horchata flavor. And then some other ideas that were suggested by some of the coaches was to actually use it as a creamer in your coffee. So black coffee and your protein powder is going to actually give it that creamier consistency as well. We do have a recipe for protein waffles that I will be sharing. And this one I kind of giggled because one of our coaches has a recipe that she calls protein sledge. If you're a client of hers, you may have already heard it. I wasn't a huge fan of the name. I thought it wasn't super appetizing. So I asked her what it was kind of the consistency of, and she said it's more like a pudding. So you can create kind of a protein pudding as well. And what you do with that is you use very little liquid and you mix it up. So you do kind of have that thick protein mix, and then you're able to top it kind of however with whatever you want, fruit and granola and some honey is what she said were her favorites. And what I like about this is if you've been in some of my other classes, I have talked about how there are different types of hunger. And sometimes we think that we're like, I'm eating the protein, I'm drinking this great smoothie, or I've made this great shake, and I'm hungry. And it should be filling me up because it has that protein, it has some fiber in it. And what I find is it's often because people are sipping through it with a straw. And that is me personally. I tend to do better and stay fuller longer if I'm actually using a spoon and kind of spooning it in. And that is because we do have different types of hunger. And one of them is actually mouth hunger. So if you find that you're not chewing your meals, you may find that you are actually hungrier sooner. And this is just one of the ways. So if you do kind of fall in that category where you're like, I make my breakfast smoothies, or I make my breakfast protein shakes, and I find myself super hungry and still wanting something more within a few hours. And keep in mind, it's natural to be hungry again 3 to 4 hours after you eat. But if you're like hungry within an hour after eating a super filling breakfast shake, this is probably going to be one of your issues. So the best thing is to actually put that in a bowl. And that's kind of what this protein pudding does, is it puts your protein in a bowl and allows you to kind of add more texture to it so that you are getting that satisfaction of actually having to chew it. Some other things that I really enjoy doing is when it is hot, and it is super hot where I'm at. And okay, I shouldn't say that because I know we have people across the country, but for me, it's super hot. I live in Utah, and so we don't get really hot weather very often, but we kind of have had a surge in the temperatures lately. But whenever it is in the hotter months, I tend to make lots of popsicles with my BCAAs. So again, a lot of people will just think that they're going to use it kind of as a recovery drink, and they do that very fast, and that's fantastic. I love to make a ton at once and pull it out whenever I am really hot. And it's a great way to kind of get your electrolytes in and get those added amino acids as well. And another way that I do that too is actually just by adding a bunch of ice to it and just blending it as well. So BCAAs often are very strong flavored and often kind of come off. And the reason why they are so strong flavored and are often like that citrusy flavors and those really overpowering, almost sweet, almost too strong flavors is because BCAAs are naturally very bitter. So to cover that, they have to add a lot of these flavorings to it. So it actually plays very well as like a popsicle or even as like a slushy. So blender, BCAAs, ice, that's all it takes. You mix it up and you have this very nice slushy that you can kind of enjoy during the hot months. Another thing I like to do is I actually sometimes, my friends will make fun of me because they'll all be drinking with their nice cocktails. And I kind of have my mocktail where it is, again, it's BCAAs. I tend to love lemon lime. That's kind of my go-to because I can take that and add some mint or basil or fresh peaches and kind of muddle it in there. And I find that I am completely satisfied with that. While they're all drinking their cocktails, I'm enjoying my nice little mocktail. And it is something, again, just a different way to kind of use it and kind of satisfy a different type of hunger or a different type of even social outing that you may have, because we do want to still be able to participate in those things. And of course, you can always have a drink. We can always make that fit. But if you tend to see that those are becoming more frequent, you might want to kind of come up with some fun drink mixes that you can kind of utilize that will keep you on track as well. So products to try. I'm going to add this one more time because I don't think everyone's going to see it. So I'm sorry for those that have been here at the beginning. So this is actually Corey's Amazon store choices. And what's great about that is she has actually added some of her favorite macro friendly snacks. So you can always go along there and kind of see what she has added. But some of those items are going to be these epic bars, which are kind of like jerky almost. It really is kind of like a meat stick pretty much. And they come in a variety of different flavors. And she also has other protein bars that are going to be listed on that sheet. And if you are someone, I know I'm going to be giving you that waffle recipe, but if you are someone that's like, hey, waffle recipes are great, love my high protein, but I just want something that's really quick and fast, there are these protein pancake mixes that you can purchase. And if you are looking for something even quicker than that, and you have less time in the morning and you want to be able to kind of mix up your breakfast routine, there is these Mighty Muffin, which is, they kind of have more of a protein pancake consistency that you just microwave. So I always say, yes, if you can make it at home, great. If you can keep things as whole food and as whole food based as possible, fantastic. But let's be realistic. Not all of us are always going to have time to do that. And some of us are super busy and it's just not going to happen. So the next best thing is to provide yourself opportunity in other ways to have those breakfasts and have those meals that are still going to excite you. And sometimes kind of having these to-go options ready is your best bet. Another one that's utilized often by several of our coaches is actually the Oikos protein yogurt. And I will say they just came out with an even newer protein yogurt brand that I believe has 25 grams of protein per serving, which is absolutely fantastic for a yogurt. Some people don't love the sweetener that they choose to use. I have found that as long as I'm adding fresh fruit or granola or something kind of mixed in, I don't even notice the sweetener at all. So it is someone that I tend to lean towards myself and use it in other recipes as well, because it does kind of add that higher protein option. So trainer favorite snacks. Some of these, I was like, I have never heard of that. And I don't know if that would be something that I would personally eat. And I just realized I accidentally left off one, but I will make sure to mention it. So of course, some of the top ones we're going to be always having hummus and veggies, Greek yogurt bark. So if you don't know what that is, it's really just taking, again, a yogurt, and you can, again, do this with Oikos too. So it's even going to be a higher protein yogurt. and you actually just spread it on wax paper or one of those reusable parchments. Or, I mean, you could even do it with tinfoil if you would like. And you spread it thin, you sprinkle on your choice of toppings, whether that's going to be fruit, whether that's going to be chocolate chips, and you can even add some of those hemp hearts, chia seeds, and then you freeze it. And when you pull it out, you just kind of break those pieces up and you have this nice, cool treat. Again, something that's perfect right now if you're having some of these heat waves that are hitting us across the US right now. Other options were a powdered peanut butter or a powdered almond butter that they mix and enjoy with apples. And the powdered almond butter had 7 grams of protein. So again, just a way to kind of make sure that even your snacks are going to help you kind of hit your protein goals if that is something that you are struggling with. I do also have some of these recipes again in that recipe pack that will be available after this class, and you can make sure that you can even request it from your Wrangler if you don't see it. So other options are going to be a turkey lettuce roll up, and this is a really simple, just lettuce, cheese, turkey, and you can add mustard if you want. You can get fancier and add in extra vegetables, but it is just something that's very simple that you can easily keep on hand. Deli meat is something that's very easy to always kind of keep in your fridge and have a protein source that's ready to go that you don't have to worry about cooking. Deli meat wrapped around a pickle, that was one that was suggested, and it kind of gave you that salty, crunchy flavor that some people are looking for. And then of course there's going to be Greek yogurt with peanut butter flavored granola, berries, and cinnamon, which is kind of a classic. If you have like a sweet tooth, that's one that often can help kind of curb it. Again, you're going to see the Oikos yogurt with chocolate chips or fruit. This one is if you are someone that has a little bit of protein or carbs that you're needed, and more fat as well that you need to kind of get in, a pepperoni with an almond in the middle. That was one of our trainer's favorites, and she said it was because she said it's the perfect salty, crunchy snack at the end of the day. And this is one of my favorites as well, and I'm glad another Wrangler mentioned this because there are very easy frozen vegetable packs now that are called the Bird's Eye protein blends. And a lot of them are very high in protein. So you can look for a 20-gram protein fat bag. And if you're someone that kind of keeps that on hand, I always keep a few in my freezer because if I have a really crazy day, I know all it takes is a few minutes in the microwave. And again, I usually have some type of deli meat or even some leftover cooked chicken, and I can throw that all in together and just consume it that way. If you are someone that is more plant-based, you can even just have those ready to go, even with a tortilla or anything like that if you want to add a wrap. The one thing I forgot to add to this list, and I feel bad because there was a good discussion on it. And so I meant to put it on here and have kind of extra information on it. But so that was my bad. But pork rinds was another one that was actually suggested by several Wranglers. And it was because, again, if you have at the end of the night, if you're looking for something crunchy, but you don't want to go too high in your carbs, this was one of their favorite ways because it is kind of in that higher fat, but it does allow that gives you that crunch. So something to kind of consider if that is something that you feel like you are kind of struggling with, is finding that satisfying crunchy snack to kind of end your evenings with. That was a popular one. And I didn't know this, but I guess there are restaurants that make very gourmet pork rinds. That's not super popular where I'm at, but I guess it's very popular in other states. So other tips for success when it comes to kind of making sure that you are staying on track with your snacks and kind of finding things that you find helpful and useful for you is always make sure you have a pre-cooked protein on hand. So this can be as simple as having cooked chicken and keeping it in your fridge afterwards, having that deli meat, or even having those protein packed bars always kind of keeping an option available for you. If you are someone that is very busy, supplements are there to supplement. It doesn't mean that they're trying to take the place of your whole food-based proteins. But if you find yourself that you are constantly on the run and tend to kind of fall victim to, I had planned to eat, but then the day got away with me and I had a lot of interruptions or things kind of come up. So I ended up eating what was in my close proximity. Lots of people are in that same boat where work gets in the way. They think they're going to be able to take a lunch break and something comes up and they're just not able to take that lunch break when they planned. So they end up getting super hungry and trying to find whatever is close and nearby. If you are someone that you know that you fall into that category, always try to keep a favorite protein bar in your bag or on your person, in your desk, wherever it may be, so that you know that you still have an option that if the worst comes to worst, you are going to be able to hit that 20 to 30 gram protein option. And a lot of bars now are able to kind of hit that 20 grams of protein, which is pretty good. It used to be, if you remember a few years ago, it used to be a protein bar was really like 10-ish. And now we have bars that can go up to 30 or 40. And some of them don't taste great. And some of them actually are super high protein and still have a good flavor for it. So one of my favorite is actually like the Cliff bars. I love chocolate and mint. So that's one that I tend to kind of keep on hand when I am running around or have lots of activities happening. This is one that when I go on family reunions, I know I'm not always going to have the best protein sources or be able to get the best protein options. So that is one that I will take with me. And one of our Wranglers had this suggestion and I loved it. She said when she's sitting down to do her grocery list, she puts everything that they need. And then she goes back through and she says, I'm going to make sure I'm adding what I need. I think oftentimes when we have a household, when we have kids, when we have other people kind of depending on us in various ways, we always put them first. And that's great. Those people that are able to do that are special, but we often forget about ourselves. And so what she said is she goes, I do my list for them and that we're going to consume together. And then I go back through and I make sure that I have what I need to be successful. So I just want to kind of challenge you guys. If you are making that grocery list and that shopping list and you're writing everything down, take a second just to look over it once more and see if you actually have what you need to be successful for the week. And don't be afraid to kind of go back and add a few things that you're going to utilize for yourself. So the biggest takeaways I want you guys to kind of leave from this class is one, make sure that what you're eating is delicious and exciting for you. And don't be afraid to try things in different ways, even if it's something that you're like, I hate that. I would never eat that. If you have never ate it in the way that we're presenting it to you, just give it a shot, because the worst that's going to happen is you're like, yep, I really do hate that. Or you may find something that's going to actually make you hitting your goals easier for you. Just like for me, I was very anti cottage cheese probably until about 2 years ago. I would not touch anything that had cottage cheese. And now that is actually how I do a lot of my dips and spreads that way. Find easy go-tos that you enjoy. I know I gave kind of a wide variety of different snacks and treats that all of us Wranglers use. And I want you to keep in mind that not all of us use all of those. Those are definitely taste preferences. Those are things that we all have kind of found that we enjoy. So make sure that you are finding go-tos that are going to be easy for you and that you actually enjoy. And one of the challenges that I would like from this is when you are creating a list of foods, I think it's a smart idea. If you're someone that struggles, that by the end of the day, you're like, I have this much fat left or this much protein left, what do I eat when this is all I have left? I really want to challenge you to kind of look at the snacks that I provided. Some of them were higher in protein, lower in carbs. Some were higher in carb and higher fat. And some were mainly higher in fat. And if you look at those, I just want you to challenge on kind of cultivating a list of at least 5 that will fulfill that need. So if you are someone that's going to be like, at the end of the day, I have this much fat left and I don't know what to do, try to have 5 go-to snacks that you know that you can consume that will help you reach your fat goals. And the same with protein. If protein is a struggle for you, make sure that you have some high protein snacks ready to go that are going to be mainly, of course, that protein option. And I know a shake is always easy, but I hope you kind of got some other ideas kind of moving forward with what you can do besides just a shake with your protein powder. We don't have a ton of time left in this Zoom. So if any of you guys have any other questions, please feel free. You can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask, or of course you can post it in the chat box as well. Thank you, darling. I'm glad you liked the tips. And thank you, Denise. It's always fun to kind of get on. And I also, if you're looking for more tips, please feel free to post in Facebook or in your corrals. This is the type of conversations we like to have because, I mean, I reached out and I got new tips just from our coaches. And I'm sure that if you were able to post, if you are willing to post in Facebook and in your own personal corrals, you'll find even more tips as well. So that's probably something that I will do too, is when I post this class, I will actually ask what everyone is doing for themselves, and if they have any snacks or go-tos that they would like to kind of add in so that others can get ideas as well. Other than that, I'm going to let you guys go unless anyone has any last minute questions. All right. Thank you guys for joining, and I hope you guys have a great evening. Bye now.